Hello and welcome back to Bedtime Fables. The world outside has grown quiet, and the stars have begun their nightly watch. Now is the time for us to find our own quiet place. Settle into your bed, feel the softness of your pillow, and let the warmth of your blankets become a gentle, cozy hug. Tonight our adventure begins when the world is fast asleep. In a magical garden where shadows come out to play, and the smallest lights can be the bravest of all. So let your breathing grow soft and slow, let your body feel heavy and relaxed as our story begins. In a little house at the end of a quiet street, there was a lovely garden. During the day, it was a busy place, full of the cheerful hum of bees visiting the flowers, and the happy chirping of sparrows splashing in the bird bath. But as the day grew tired, a sleepy quiet began to fall. The sun, a great, warm, orange ball, sank lower and lower, kissing the tops of the trees goodnight. With every moment, the shadows in the garden grew longer, and longer, stretching like sleepy dark blue rivers across the soft, green grass. Now, most shadows are quiet things. They follow you all day and rest where they fall at night. But in this garden, one of the shadows was very special. It was the deep, ancient shadow that belonged to the great oak tree. As the very last sliver of sun vanished from the sky, this shadow began to stir. It wiggled at its base, then it jiggled, and then, with a soft, silent poof that made no sound at all, a small piece of it peeled away from the great tree trunk, taking on a life of its own. It was Umbra, the shadow puppy. He was not made of fur and bone, but of the deep, soft darkness of the night itself. He was the color of a moonless sky, with eyes that shimmered like to faint, distant stars. The very tip of his tail held a tiny, milky glow, just like the Milky Way far above. He could only come out when the world was asleep, and this quiet, moonlit garden was his very own special, secret playground. Oh, how Umbra loved the night. The garden, which was so full of busy sounds during the day, was now his quiet kingdom. He would chase the big, dusty moths as they fluttered around the warm glow of the back porch light. He would dip a shadowy paw into the bird bath, trying to catch the moon's perfect, silvery reflection. He would play hide and seek with the shadows of the tall sunflowers, their sleepy, bowed heads making the most wonderful, mysterious shapes to hide behind. The night was his friend, and in the cool, quiet dark, he was never lonely. But tonight, something was different. As he was about to pounce on the wonderfully grumpy-looking shadow of a stone garden gnome, he saw it, a tiny flicker of light down in the deep, dewy grass. It wasn't the bright, happy flash of a firefly. This light was small, and it pulsed with a slow, weak rhythm, like a little heart that was feeling very sad and very tired. It would glow, and then almost fade away, and then glow again, just a little, with a gentle curiosity that made his shadowy paws move silently through the grass. Umbra crept closer. The little light belonged to a tiny glowworm who was trembling from the tip of her head to the end of her faintly glowing tail. When she saw the large, dark shape of Umbra looming over her, she froze in fear. "Oh, please don't eat me," the glowworm whispered, her voice so tiny it was like the sound of a single dewdrop falling onto a leaf. "I'm lost. I can't find my family, and my light is getting very tired." Umbra, who had never met a glowworm before, felt a pang of sadness for the tiny, frightened creature. He certainly wasn't going to eat her. To show he was friendly, he lay down in the cool grass, putting his shadowy head on his paws to make himself seem as small and as gentle as possible. He let out a soft, silent woof, a little puff of darkness that carried a feeling of kindness. The little glowworm, whose name was Glimmer, stopped shaking and looked at the big, shadowy puppy with wide, curious eyes. "My family," Glimmer explained, her voice still a tiny whisper. Her little light pulsed weakly as she spoke. "We all glow together on the big, mossy rock by the old stone wall. It's the brightest place in the whole garden. But I was watching a beautiful lunar moth with wings like powdered silver, and I followed her, and I wandered too far. Now I'm all alone, and when a glowworm is scared and lonely, its light starts to fade." Umbra knew he had to help. He couldn't bear the thought of this little light going out all alone in the dark. But he also knew he didn't have much time. When the sun rose and its bright golden light filled the garden, all shadows had to return to where they belonged. He would fade away back into the oak tree, and Glimmer would be alone again. "Climb on," he woofed silently, nudging her gently with his nose toward his soft, shadowy back. "We will find them, I promise. We will find your family before the morning comes." Glimmer, feeling a little braver now, carefully crawled onto Umbra's soft, cool, shadowy back. It was a strange feeling, like resting on a piece of the night sky itself. With his precious passenger holding on tight, Umbra stood up. He remembered seeing a big, mossy rock near the old stone wall at the very back of the garden. It was a long way for a little glowworm, but for a shadow puppy, it was the start of a grand and important adventure. Umbra moved with a quiet confidence through his shadowy world. He knew the garden by its nighttime smells, the sweet scent of the sleeping roses, the damp, earthy smell of the soil near the vegetable patch, and the clean, stony smell of the garden path. He followed the deepest shadows, where he felt safest and strongest, his paws making no sound at all on the soft grass. Their path led them near the garden sprinkler, a strange, metal creature with many arms. Umbra stopped suddenly. He knew that while he was made of shadow, a single drop of water could make him dissolve and scatter, just for a moment, and Glimmer, being so small, could be washed away by a single, big splash. They would have to be very, very careful. Umbra looked around and saw a large, soft rose petal lying on the grass. It was a beautiful, velvety pink, and it was just big enough. With a gentle nudge of his shadowy nose, he pushed the petal over the wide puddle that lay beneath the sprinkler, creating a safe, dry bridge for them to cross. High above, in the branches of the great oak tree, a wise old owl watched their journey. His great, golden eyes could see everything that happened in the garden at night. He had seen Umbra play 100 times before, but he had never seen the shadow puppy on such an important mission. He hooted a single, soft, encouraging note into the quiet air. As they continued on, Umbra felt a small tremor from his passenger. He looked back and saw that Glimmer's little light was fading, now no brighter than the faintest star. "I'm so tired," she whispered. "I don't know if I have enough glow left to make it. My family won't be able to see me." Umbra knew what he had to do. He stopped in the shadow of a large hosta leaf and curled his own body around the little glowworm. He made a small, safe cave of pure, comforting darkness for her. "Don't be afraid," he woofed softly. "Sometimes, to help a light shine, you need the deepest dark to protect it. Just rest for a moment." Shielded from the vast, open night, and feeling the steady, kind presence of her new friend, Glimmer took a slow breath. She focused on the memory of her family's warm glow, and slowly, very slowly, her own little light began to grow a little stronger. The darkness wasn't taking her light away. It was helping her find it again. "I'm ready," Glimmer whispered, her light now a soft but steady glow. They continued their journey, and soon they saw it. Just ahead, by the old stone wall, was a large rock covered in a soft, green carpet of moss. And upon that rock was a beautiful, twinkling constellation of tiny, glowing lights. Before she joined her family on the rock, Glimmer turned back to the quiet shadow in the grass. She couldn't give him a hug, but she could give him a gift of light. She focused all her strength and let out the biggest, brightest, most beautiful pulse of light she had ever made. It was a silent, shining thank you. "My family," Glimmer cried with joy. She slid gently off Umbra's back and began to crawl towards the rock. As she got closer, the other Gloverums noticed her, and their lights all pulsed in a happy, welcoming rhythm. Umbra stayed back in the shadows, his heart feeling warm and full. His mission was almost complete. Umbra watched as Glimmer joined her family, her little light becoming one with all the others, making their collective glow even brighter. With a happy, silent wag of his tail, the shadow puppy turned and began his own journey home, his heart feeling as bright as Glimmer's shining thank you. As he trotted across the lawn, Umbra noticed a change in the air. The deep, comfortable darkness of the night was beginning to thin. The sky in the east was no longer black, but a soft, gentle grey. The morning was coming, and he knew it was time for him to go. He picked up his pace, his shadowy legs a blur of motion. He had to get back to the great oak tree before the first rays of the sun touched the garden. He loved his life as a shadow, and he knew he had to respect its rules. He reached the tree just as the first golden finger of sunlight touched the highest leaf. With a final happy wag of his tail, Umbra's playful puppy form melted back into the deep, dark shadow at the base of the oak tree, becoming one with it again, safe and sound until the next night's adventure. The sun rose, and the garden awoke to a bright new day. The shadows were short, the grass was sparkling with dew, and the world was full of cheerful, busy sounds. No one would ever know of the grand secret adventure that had taken place just a few hours before, but a few of the night's creatures remembered. The wise old owl slept, his dreams filled with the image of a brave shadow puppy, and little Glimmer slept, her dreams full of a kind, dark friend who had guided her home. Their secret was safe, and the great oak tree stood, strong and silent, holding its special shadow safely within it, waiting patiently for the sun to make its journey across the sky and for the magical, playful dark to return once more. And now, just like Umbra and Glimmer, it is time for you to find your own cozy, safe place to rest. The adventures of the day are over, and the quiet, peaceful world of dreams is waiting to welcome you. Feel how safe and warm you are in your bed. Imagine you were tucked in with all your loved ones, your own little light glowing softly and steadily, knowing you were completely protected and cared for. As Umbra, a playful puppy made of soft, dark shadow, settled back into the safety of his oak tree, the world outside began to change. The deep, comfortable blue of the night sky started to soften at the edges, blushing with the first hint of morning pink. A single, golden ray of sunshine, the morning's first scout, peeked over the rooftops, promising the arrival of a new day. For Umbra, this was the gentlest of goodbyes. He could feel the sun's warmth growing, pulling him back into the deep, quiet sleep of his shadow self. He watched as the garden he loved was slowly painted with light, and he felt a happy contentment. His friend Glimmer was safe. His work was done. With a final, silent yawn, he let himself dissolve completely, his consciousness fading into the ancient, peaceful heart of the oak tree. The garden was now fully awake. The birds began their cheerful morning chorus, a celebration of the new day. The roses unfurled their velvety petals, releasing their sweet perfume into the air. The busy bees started their rounds, buzzing from blossom to blossom. The nighttime world of secrets and shadows had vanished completely, replaced by the bright, happy world of the morning. And beneath the big, mossy rock, Glimmer was fast asleep, surrounded by the warmth of her family. Her light was resting, but her dreams were bright. She dreamt of a kind, shadowy friend and their grand adventure through the giant jungle of grass. She dreamt of feeling brave, and she knew she would never forget the puppy made of nighttime. All day long, the oak tree stood, its shadow a small dark puddle at its base. Umbra was deep inside, in a place without time, resting and waiting. He was a secret the daylight world knew nothing about, a quiet promise of the magic that would return with the moon. The sun once again finished its great journey across the sky. The birds sang their final, sleepy songs and tucked their heads under their wings. The deck creatures returned to their homes, and the night creatures began to stir. Twilight, the magical time in between, cast its soft, purple blanket over the garden. And as the darkness settled, Umbra peeled himself away from the tree once more, his shadowy form full of a new energy. He didn't chase a moth or pounce on a leaf. Tonight, his first thought was of his new friend. He looked eagerly across the long garden, towards the old stone wall. And there it was. On the mossy rock, a beautiful beacon of soft green-yellow light was already glowing. And as he watched, a single point of light on the edge of the cluster pulsed brightly twice. It was Glimmer. It was her special, shining hello. Umbra bounded happily across the grass. That night, they invented a new game. Glimmer would crawl through the garden, leaving a beautiful, glowing path behind her, and Umbra would follow the trail of light, his shadowy paws pouncing playfully from one glowing spot to the next. They would sit together under the big, dark leaves of the hosta plants. Glimmer would tell him stories of her family and of what it was like to be a tiny light, and Umbra, in return, would make funny shadow puppets on the stone wall for her. Wobbly butterfly, a hopping rabbit, silent stories from a silent friend. The warm summer nights began to fade, and the cool, crisp air of autumn arrived. The leaves on the great oak tree turned from green to gold, and the nights grew longer and colder. Glimmer's family began to talk of the long winter sleep, a time when they would burrow deep into the warm earth and dream until spring. One night, Glimmer had sad news. "It is our last night," she whispered, her light pulsing slowly. "Tomorrow we go to our winter bed, deep beneath the rock to sleep until the world is warm again. I will miss you, my shadow friend." Umbra felt a deep sadness in his shadowy heart. He would be alone in his playground again. "But I want to give you something to remember me by," Glimmer said. With great effort, she concentrated her glow, and from the very tip of her tail, she produced a single, tiny, solid spark of her own light. It was a tiny, glowing pearl, a piece of her own bravery and warmth. She crawled down and pushed the little light pearl towards him. "Keep this," she said, "so you won't be lonely in the long, cold nights. It will remind you that my light is always with you, even when I am sleeping." The snows came, and the garden became a world of white and silver. The mossy rock was just a soft, white lump. Glimmer and her family were sleeping deep below. Every night, Umbra would come out and play his quiet games, but it wasn't the same. When he felt lonely, he would take out Glimmer's little gift and hold it, its steady glow a warm promise of his friend's return. The winter was long and quiet, but like all things, it came to an end. The snow melted, the earth softened, and the first brave little flowers began to push their way up to greet the returning sun. Spring had come back to the garden. That night, Umbra didn't think about games or moths. As soon as he emerged from his tree, he ran to the edge of the lawn and sat, his eyes fixed on the mossy rock. He waited and he watched, his shadowy heart thumping with hope. At first, there was nothing, but then a single, sleepy flicker, then another and another, one by one. The glowworms were waking up from their long winter's dream and climbing back onto their rock to greet the warm spring night. And there, on the edge of the glowing cluster, was Glimmer. She saw her shadowy friend waiting and crawled happily to meet him. Umbra showed her the little pearl she had given him, which he had kept safe all winter long. And Glimmer shone her, light, brighter and happier than ever before, a shining beacon of a friendship that could last through even the longest, darkest night. The garden was full of light once more, the bright, flashing fireflies, and the gentle, steady glow of rooms. And in the middle of it all, a little puppy made of shadow played with his best friend, a tiny creature made of light. And they both knew that no matter how different they were, their lights were always stronger and brighter together. Thank you for joining us at Bedtime Fables. There's a new, magical adventure waiting for us every time the moon rises. If you'd like to be there, you can ask your grown-up to tap the subscribe button so we can all meet again. Until then, sleep well, and may your dreams be full of light. Good night.